This program is brought to you by the Media Liberty Alliance Foundation in cooperation with OBBM Network TV, bringing citizen-led, creative local media to the forefront of local communities to foster a greater understanding of constitutional liberty and appreciation of what makes us truly free, starting with you and me.
Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. That way you're updated each time fresh content comes out. And thank you for being part of the Zach Ratliff Show.
The Zach Ratliff Show is sponsored by Mortgage Financial in Texarkana, Exceed Health Clinic, Elmwood Custom Goods, and Church on the Rock, Texarkana. That's churchontherock.org. Welcome to the Zach Ratliff Show. We're just bringing you in mid-conversation because every week we jump in where it's we've already had a lot of the good conversation. So anyway, got Dale here with me.
Hey guys,
Dale Huls running for Bowie County Republican Party chairman. Yeah, man, I don't understand how the Democrats keep picking the wrong side.
They don't pick. It's whatever Donald Trump picks. They go the other side. And if Donald Trump is picking all the 80-20 things on the 80 side, they're stuck with the 20.
Right.
And they can't, Trump, like we said, Trump knows it. They know it. Yet they can't help themselves.
It's just crazy. and like you were saying right before we hit record here, every time they're siding with dictators and they're siding with, and then they call all of us crazy.
Yeah. I mean, they believe, mutilating children. They're against Title IX. They argued against that in the Supreme Court.
Did you see that? I've got that in some of my notes for us.
The part I loved the best was when, Alito, I think it was.
Yeah, it was Alito.
Asked him, well, define for me what a man and a woman is. And they go, well, we can't do that. And I'm like, you're up here arguing this case. You should at least have a basic definition. Of course, I'm pretty sure Alito was saying, can you define it for Justice Ketanji Brown? Because she doesn't know.
What a joke that's been.
Oh, my God.
That's the Biden administration wrapped up into one little bow.
Yeah.
Like that's for you to see it right there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and you know what? Americans across the country, if they get to hear this at all, they're going, scratching their head going, what the hell?
Yeah, who is this lady? Is this real life?
It really, what are we arguing here?
Is this the Twilight Zone?
And most of those people have been around since Title IX was even in. And it's like, it was to protect women. Well, it's like, what is it, 18 states that have outlawed women's sports?
Right.
Because they allow men in there?
Yeah, it just does nothing to protect women at this point with the current. Well, and even I have an article here that says, "Is this what feminism brought us?" And feminism brought us where we are because it's not feminism; it's all about power.
Well, you know what? This is when you get down to it, and Democrats call themselves progressives. This is progressivism in a nutshell.
Yeah,
it's keep moving, keep moving. They move so far to the extreme and the ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they can't stop themselves. There's because they don't share any of our values.
No morals.
No morals. I mean, I often ask that question to people who are on the other side politically from me. I'm like, okay, do you look at this as a moral issue? And they're like, yeah. And I go, okay, where do you get your morality from?
Well, that's because you're a hateful bigot.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what they say back. But it's like, I go, okay, I get mine from God. The Bible tells me what morals are, what you should do and all that stuff. I go, so I get my morality from a higher power.
Yeah.
Where do you get yours from? Yourself?
Yeah.
And if you do, who the hell are you?
Right. Oh, that's exactly right. But, Golly. Well, let's get into some of it. I mean, I just wanted to bring everybody in on kind of the end part of our normal rantings. Just,
I know.
you know.
Every time we get together, it's like, boom, let's just jump right into something meaty.
But, you know, it's funny. I get calls sometimes from people that still have my number from when I would give it out on the radio. Of course, my number is easy to find. It's still real estate. I mean, you got to be able to get a hold of me. Except for right now, my phone's on SOS, and I don't know why. But
You're being censored.
Yeah, I'm like, you know, it wouldn't surprise me. But I get calls sometimes where people will just jump in off of mine and your conversation and just start talking. I'm like, whoa. I've talked a lot since you got to catch me up to remind me what we're talking about.
What is the context here, guys?
So I always think that's funny because I'm like, I can get back there. You just got to tell me where we're going.
Well, you know, those little clips you put out there on Facebook and such, as those are helpful because then when they jump into it, you see what the context is.
Yes. Oh, I put one up yesterday. I had a guy in here running for judge, Redfern.
Yeah.
And his is going crazy right now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because of course I liked a lot of what he had to say. So
Well, you know, and it brings in a lot of the Arkansas people because, you know, we're pretty Texas centric here, but, you know, we share a state line with them.
we do. You know, only 42% of the audience is from Texas.
Yeah.
and then there's a small percentage of it from Arkansas. And then after that, you know, we're growing. We're nationwide and worldwide at this point. I always wonder what the people in, like, there's a few listeners in Ukraine. There's some in like Taiwan. I'm like, wonder what they're thinking about this. You know, like what are the, you know, like what are these guys even talking about?
You ought to invite some of those listeners in if they contact you. Say, phone in. Let's talk.
You know, I had the one guy emailing me from the UK.
Yeah.
And he was saying, you know, hey, you got to keep talking about this because we lost our way here and we probably lost our country.
Oh, my God. They have. I mean, Europe is fallen. Not falling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and this is even what I said. I don't know if I said it yesterday. This is what I said to somebody. I don't remember who I was talking to now. But this is how you got the Christian Crusades.
Yeah.
Same thing, and I've got some articles on that. We'll get to that, but I mean, the same run up is what we've got. Anyway, we've got a good show for everybody. Okay, so here's this lady, and I'm not going to play the video just because she's an idiot, but it's on Wall Street Apes on X.com. It says liberal influencer The Stacy shows with over 15,000 followers says she's at the gun range training to kill MAGA.
Yeah.
And then she says more women are there and they're training to kill MAGA. The reason why they always say, oh, people are going to die with guns is because they're more than willing to kill us if they have guns, not us kill them.
Well, you know, they've been so anti-gun for so long, it's hard for a lot of them to make that conversion over that. So they're using their automobiles. And they're going, well, it's not a gun.
Right.
Only guns kill people. Cars don't kill people.
Right. I mean, if you had to kill somebody with a fork, I mean, you can find a lot of ways to do it.
I haven't seen anybody killed with a fork, but I've seen somebody fight with a fork.
See, I mean, well, there you go.
When I was in like elementary school in the cafeteria, a couple of girls went at it with forks. I'm like, oh my God,
see,
blood everywhere.
It's always the girls.
Yeah.
Let me, on a real note, you're up for election. I'm up for election. I don't even know if I should go here.
Go there. What the hell?
Okay. we'll go a little off the rails. Right now, the 25 to 55-year-old white woman is an issue in their voting bloc.
Yeah.
Especially liberal, but even ones that think they're conservative, they're so undependable on where they are. And I can't figure that out. Is it because of the runoff of emotion, or I don't know, because I'm not a 25 to 55-year-old white woman. But that voting bloc is so undependable that you know, people talk about the African American bloc or the gay bloc or the Hispanic bloc. No, if you win that voting bloc, you win the election right now.
Well, see, I have my own theories on that. You know, and part of it is, you know, women or men are different.
Turns out,
I mean, apparently, you know, and I've learned that since a little bitty boy.
Yeah.
You know, and
I like the difference.
Yeah, so do I. But men think a lot more in a logical perspective and things, and women tend to be more emotional.
Yeah.
And the thing is, our education system and our media have figured out ways to trigger women, especially white women, emotionally.
So they manipulate them.
So they trigger that one issue, and they forget about everything else.
Because we're going to go save these babies, or we're
going to save the world, climate change, trans people, Somali fraudsters.
Right.
We're going to save them too. Whatever that trigger is, that's what they go with.
So our media is triggering it from an emotional standpoint in order to elicit the reaction,
Absolutely.
which always helps the Democrat Party.
It does, always, because, like I say, they make the emotional argument. They don't make a factual argument.
Right.
They don't talk about right versus wrong. They always make it an emotional thing. Who's going to save the children? How long have we heard that in education? Oh, we need another several $1 billion into our schools because we got to save the children. It's for the kids.
Well, anybody, and you may have seen it too, but anybody my age for sure has seen the meme that's out there, or the meme, or whatever you want to call it, that's out there that has a woman sitting there and she says, I knew I was wrong 10 minutes ago, but I can't admit it. And then she's in an argument, right?
Right.
And look, once again, I'm not trying to be disparaging to women, but here's the problem. This is the truth. And I'm a big fan of women. I like them.
Obviously I do too. But the thing is, you get to thinking about it, and it's like, well, what is happening here? And how do we correct that? And I don't know. It's like I talked about education.
Yeah.
I was educated with a blackboard and textbooks.
Yeah.
Okay. And a pencil, a number 2 pencil, and a piece of notebook paper.
Right.
That's my education. I worked in nuclear weapons. I worked at NASA.
Yeah.
I've been an overseas military contractor. I've done all these things with just those simple tools as my base, background. Now I just heard a teacher the other day talk about every kid's got a Chromebook. They don't have textbooks anymore. This and that. And I'm like, oh my God.
To that point, my daughter started a new school, which is amazing, and we love it, and love the school
You're
district.
like every other patient. And my school's different. I love my school.
No, but what she said was, from her old school, they everybody did have a Chromebook. Everybody did do all the things, and that's a great school too. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But she's like, oh, we use the whiteboard.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I'm like, yeah. She's like, but we did math and stuff up there. I'm like, yeah, that's what it's for.
I'll tell you a little secret. There are whiteboards all over NASA.
Oh, really?
We do so much work on whiteboards.
Well, that makes sense.
It
right?
does, because it's like, oh, that's wrong, and you just wipe it away.
Yeah.
And you start over and do something new. Like I said, my whole career in NASA, we worked off whiteboards as much as we did on computers.
Right.
Every conference room has a couple whiteboards in it.
That's awesome.
And of course, we got fancy after a while. It's like, well, whatever you wrote on a whiteboard, we were able to copy that, with a little machine there. And it's like, okay, so we would make slides out of that.
Which is cool.
Government always has to have their PowerPoint.
I can't stand that PowerPoint. Before we get off this issue,
Okay.
here's the world we've created in America. And I'm not necessarily against it. You can go around the rest of the world, and you've been there, but it doesn't matter if you're in the Middle East, Asia, wherever, even South America. The value of women is very little.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They're beaten, raped,
Second-class citizens.
Second-class citizens.
If they're citizens at all.
If there's, that's exactly right. In China, you can, for a while they had the 2-child policy. So I don't know if that's still ongoing.
1-child policy.
Was it 1 child? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's still ongoing. I would
They've relaxed
imagine
it somewhat because they've got a little crisis going on there too.
Right. Turns out you need women to have kids.
And they've built cities that they don't have enough people to put in them.
Exactly. But so that's the rest of the world. Now even up until a couple of years ago, we could call Western Europe as part of our cultures. We value women. Mm-hmm. We want to protect our women, and we've done such a good job of creating a world where they're safe. Because men, we grow up. If I say something to you and we're growing up, or even as we're older, there's a chance you might punch me in the face.
Yeah, a good chance.
And there's a chance I might punch you in. And there's a chance I might punch you in the face.
That's right.
And we all understand that. And all men grow up in that world.
Right.
Whether it's outside at playtime when you're growing, but boys are so rough and tumble. Yeah, because that's what we're supposed to be.
But we have social ways as men to deal with these things. I mean, when I was in Bosnia, and I'm there with a bunch of Louisiana and Texas contractors, and we're building base camps and doing the logistics for the U.S. Army and others.
Right.
we'd sit around and talk at night and such. And, one time I made the observation, I go, what we say to each other would be a fist fight back in the States.
Oh.
I mean, because we were rude and crude. What can I say?
Yeah.
And it's like, you couldn't say that in the U.S. and not be in a fight.
Well, I spoke at an event. Maybe it's almost been a year ago. Anyway, and it was at a church, but it was to a men's group, and I said, "Hey, look, we're going to be real in here." Because I know that on every, and there, maybe 100 guys in there or something. I said, I know on everybody's cell phone that's in here, there's a message with a group of your friends that you would all be fired for if someone saw it.
Right.
And I said, not that that's right, not that it's wrong, but I know how you talk to your friends. And it's in such a way that your wives and your moms and your grandmas would blush or whip you.
They'd be horrified.
Yeah. But that's how men talk to each other.
But remember, on the other side of that coin, there are things women say.
Yeah. Oh.
That a guy would be shocked to his core to go, you said what to them?
But that being said, we all know how to talk to each other, but we've created a country thus far that is safe. That women in general can operate by their own. They can buy stuff by themselves. They can make decisions. They can be autonomous for the most part if they want to be.
Right.
And that is what we've seen come full circle now, that there's no danger. And we're in the South. You hold the door open for any woman. It doesn't matter.
You hold women in reverence.
That's exactly right.
Exactly.
And I think that's driven some of this. We feel safe enough to, we're going to kill you. We feel safe enough to, we're going to do, like, hold on. You have the right to vote, and that's good.
Right.
Men gave you that. This is a crazy thought. If men wanted to, they could take that away because there's nothing you could do for it.
Well, you still got basic biology in there,
Right.
And a guy typically is stronger than a woman.
Right.
And we do revere our women. We try to give them every bit of opportunity that we ourselves have.
Right.
But, it's not like that in the rest of the world. I mean, the liberal socialist utopia that is Sweden, women can't go outside at dark because the immigration is so bad that the chances are they'll be raped.
The rape rate went through the roof.
And it's like, okay, how's that working out for you? We try not to have that here. You know, these women out there screaming at our ICE agents and such in Minnesota and such, they're not worried about, walking the streets so much.
Because they've never had to consider it.
That's right. And it's like, oh, well, I'm going to try to, I get told to stop, get out of the car and what have you, but I'm going to step on the gas and drive through people. No.
It's a problem.
Yeah, it is, because they don't understand the ramifications of what that means.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not trying to be disparaging towards women, but this is reality.
Right.
And we talk about reality on here. So anyway, but, once again, big fan.
I want to tell everybody out there that I do love women. I respect them, and I think they're as valuable as any other human being in the United States. So don't get us wrong when we talk about that, but there are some basic truths that need to be recognized. Women have their strengths and their gifts that men don't have.
Well, and if we're going to...
I know we're going off in a way different way, but
that's okay.
That's good.
We'll come back to this next article here in a second. If you're going to look at the traditional woman who was made to look like, by feminism, okay?
Right.
Feminism took your traditional wife and made it look like she wasn't doing it. Oh, it's just a homemaker.
Yeah.
Well, no. We're talking about a time before microwaves, a time mainly before vacuums. You had to go out, you had to cook your breakfast, you had to chop your wood, you had to get everything.
Take care of the kids.
You had to sew your clothes.
Yeah.
Women had to do so much. And even the Bible says, you should be able to trust your wife at the gate to go purchase a field for you.
Look back in the frontier days and such, when the guy had to go out hunting or he'd have to take a herd to the market, the women would be alone for weeks, sometimes months by themselves out there they were their only resource.
Right.
So women are tough.
So I feel like the history of women in this country has been minimalized by feminism in order to achieve a political goal.
Well, what it is, it's every woman, if you're going to be successful, you have to be a CEO.
Right.
You have to go to college. I mean, when the Democrats made that a mantra, everybody must go to college. You must get a college education
Right.
if you want to succeed in life. That's not true.
Right.
There's millions of blue-collar workers out there who know how to do plumbing, HVAC.
50% of
carpentry.
millionaires don't have a college degree.
Exactly. And it's like, okay, that is one of those things where, you got to figure out where do we pervert our traditional roles.
Right.
Now I'm not saying every woman needs to be a homemaker, because I've worked at NASA. I worked under female bosses all the time.
Right.
I
I had a lady that was my boss at the bank who was amazing. I'm not saying that they can't do it. I'm just saying something has changed that we, just like the rest of our culture, something got off somewhere.
It did. And we conservatives, we didn't do enough.
Yeah.
And it's
silent majority.
Yes, it's kind of our fault.
Yeah.
Because we didn't recognize the warning signs. We didn't take enough action. We're like, live your life. I'll live mine. You do you. I'll do me.
Right.
That type of thing. And before you know it, they're all doing them. And you're like, who are you?
Yeah. Whoa. This isn't what we thought we were doing.
No, I mean, we gave you, the freedom to go do what you want to do. And then we find out that you're crazy.
Yeah, it's like being the guy that opens a beer at a Mormon wedding. Whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't realize where we were.
Yeah, right. This is America. We've got traditional values, Judeo-Christian values that are imbued in our whole culture. And it's like we have our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, 200 years of plus of jurisprudence and such.
Yeah,
and it all seems to be changing here recently.
Yes.
And maybe it's the digital age that is an evil creeped into our country. I don't know, but it's one of those things we need to get back, and that's why I'm running for office. That's why you're running for office. That's why I support people that I believe in, and I fight against those I don't.
Exactly. All right, let's roll on.
All right.
We only covered that for 20 minutes. So.
And that's a side conversation.
Yeah. Eric Daugherty on X.com. DHS is sending the message out to all ICE agents from Stephen Miller. And this is it. Let it load. To all ICE agents, you have federal immunity in the conduct of your duties. Anybody who lays a hand on you or tries to stop you or tries to obstruct you is committing a felony. You have immunity to perform your duties, and no one, no city official, no state official, no illegal alien, no leftist agitator or domestic insurrectionist, you're starting to see that word come up more, can prevent you from fulfilling your legal obligations.
Well, that's true. Everything he said is true. Now, he probably coached it in a lot more harsher language than I would have put out there. But you know what? That's the same of every cop out there.
Right.
If you're a constable, if you're a policeman, if you're a sheriff, you've got the same immunity as anybody else. If you're doing your official duties and you're not breaking a law, you have sovereign immunity from prosecution for anything that you're doing.
Yeah.
As like a soldier, as long as you're not committing an actual crime, you do have that immunity. Now, that goes away if you do something bad that's illegal.
Exactly.
And
we're not saying break the law.
Right. But you've got all the media, all the talking heads, all the leftists out there saying what the cops are doing is illegal. So they're justifying,
because it's the right that has hateful, insightful verbiage, right? No, it's not. It's always the left.
Yes.
All right, let's keep rolling. Charlie's Voice Rising on X.com. Justin has a headline from Fox News 2. Justin, experts are losing it after Ford plant in Michigan announced it's moving to 24/7 operations 6 days a week because the economy is surging.
That's horrible, isn't it?
Oh, I hate to see our country do so well.
Well, all those workers having to work hard and
probably create more jobs.
Make a lot of money, and it's like...
And what they said is they're bringing on a third shift.
I know.
I mean...
it's like now...
Is this the same factory where the guy threw him, cussed at him and he threw him the finger?
It could be. I mean, I don't know if y'all heard about that, but Trump was speaking to an audience of auto workers and auto industry. And he was talking about the good economy and all the jobs coming back, all the investment, the trillions of dollars in investments. Ford's investing $12 billion here, and Stellantis, another $14 billion there, type of thing. And this guy gets up there and he starts screaming at Trump, cussing, just being totally disrupted.
Which, admittedly, you're allowed to do.
Yeah, and then Trump, being Trump, he looks at him and basically tells him to piss off and gives him the finger.
Gives him the old California howdy.
And they boot him out, and I was, as I was driving up here for the show today, I'm listening to MS Now because I like to hear what the other side's saying. They're comparing that one.
Liberal.
I know. I hear that one guy. They're comparing that one guy who was disrupting a meeting where Trump is getting applause after applause to the Iranian protesters.
How stupid. How many thousands of those have been killed by a real oppressive regime?
From 12 to 20,000.
Yeah.
From what
and they're still showing up by the millions.
Yes. And it's like, you cannot see. They connect those disparate dots, and they say it's the same thing.
It's not even apples to oranges. It's apples to whales.
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Our media is just so lost.
They are. I mean, and they foster this, for clicks, for what they consider their audience. They will say anything. They will do anything. They will connect any dots, no matter how far apart they are, and say it's a direct cause.
Yeah.
Everything is Trump's fault.
Well, because just like we all get caught in an echo chamber, because oftentimes I think, how can these people believe this? And then I pay attention to what they consume, and they're not listening to podcasts. They're not reading. I'm reading the National Review, and I don't read the Wall Street Journal much. I read the clips of it, but Citizens Free Press and all these things, and you're taking in all that. And a lot of on National Review, a lot of that stuff is written in such a way that I really have to slow down and think about it because my little mouse is in there running around that wheel trying to make it work.
Oh yeah, I mean, I hear you, and I often think that I'm like, how can you believe what I just heard you say?
Yeah.
Now, many of them, like the politicians up there, I don't think that they believe what they say. They just say it because that's the
At least the top ones.
Yeah, the top ones. But for like some suburban liberal mom who's been, inoculated in this. In fact, over in Minnesota, where all this stuff is going down, they have charter schools that social justice has been in their charter since the 70s.
It's just
they've been generationally trained to think this.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. And like I say, I listen to MS Now. I listen to CNN. While I'm driving around just to hear.
I'll watch Scott Jennings, whatever show he's on CNN.
Well, Jennings, one of our guys.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where
that's where Glenn Beck came from.
I try to listen to what they're saying, and it's like, okay, that makes no sense, and the comparisons you're trying to make is absurd on its face, but you're still saying it. And if you take somebody who only listens to CNN or only listens to MS Now, and you go, "Oh, Trump must be a Nazi," he must be a dictator, and everything he's doing,
except for they're supporting Maduro and they're supporting.
That is another 80-20 thing, It's like we want to get rid of Maduro.
Yeah.
Him and Chavez ruined that country, as we talked before, and now they're bringing him to justice. Due process.
Yeah.
And he's
amazed.
You got to free him. I guess that No Kings rally only meant for, our democratically elected leader.
Stupid. Yeah. It's just stupid. Well, so on Fox News, I saw this, and I hadn't really heard or had time to look into it. Did Trump sign an executive order making English our official language?
I believe he did. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, we should have a common language in this country.
Yeah.
You can't have.
I'm surprised he didn't call it American, though.
Yeah, really. Because it ain't like the English did.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But, when I was educated, when I grew up in school, I was taught the melting pot.
Yeah.
Come from all over the world. Come
and become
here.
American.
Become Americans. Melt into the culture. Bring your own whatever, and we'll be a better America for it. When I was raising my kids, melting pot was no longer a thing.
No.
It was multiculturalism.
Yeah.
Multiculturalism leads to that enclave north of Houston where all the illegals are moving into. You get the Somali enclave there in Minnesota. You get the Islamic enclaves up there in Michigan.
Or DFW.
Yeah, or Epic City. And they don't
North Texarkana.
They don't try to assimilate because we're taught that assimilation is bad. Because if you're not teaching pro-assimilation, by the reverse, it must be bad, right?
That's exactly right.
You know, so they don't want them to be Americans. They want them to be, and you know what? Those people think that they are not Americans. That's why they do.
Ilhan Omar says that she represents Somalia, which is a violation of her oath. With that statement alone, she should go.
How do you walk $700 million in suitcases out of America?
Where we
Somalia?
can't take more than 10,000. Not that I've ever had that
That's
problem.
Right. Yeah, 10 grand. Okay.
Just 10 grand for vacation on top of what I've already paid.
Yeah,
No.
you get flagged for that every time you pull 10 grand out of a bank. Every time.
Look, used to manage bank. Really?
Oh,
if you want to go there, anything over 2,500, if you do that enough times in a month,
right,
you're on the radar.
Yeah.
You go above 10,000, or if you go 9,900 and then you do 100, both of those transactions, and you know. If the bank sends enough of those, if you do that enough, the bank will shut you down because they don't want to have to answer to the government.
Did you know that if you're driving in your car and you have 10 grand on your
the cops will take it.
Yeah, they'll take it. They'll say it's suspected drug money,
and just pocket it. Well, they'll put it in the where.
They'll take it. They'll buy a new cop car or something with it.
Yeah,
you know, but they do. They confiscate it, and it takes forever and a day to try to get it back.
Yeah, and it's legal.
Yeah,
but yet the Somalis could walk out with, like I said, $750 million.
Yeah,
and the airport knew about it.
Yeah,
it's not like they didn't know.
Oh, I see. That's why people need to go to jail.
Oh, what? We do that here? All conservatives go to jail.
You're not allowed to take currency, that much currency, on aircraft.
Right.
Yeah, and they were doing it as a routine
every
matter.
Day.
Yeah. So there are people. There's politicians. There's airport workers. There's probably people in Homeland Security.
Guy who ran for
TSA.
vice president.
Yeah. You know, they're all complicit in some manner or form.
Absolutely. Yeah. All the palms got greased. And everybody was, oh, Trump has mob connections. Well, no, he doesn't. But if you look at, you don't have to call it mob, but organized crime is definitely what that was.
Yeah.
Some would call it racketeering.
And it's not connections. They are organized crime.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. And we you know, I've often heard it say, you know, until somebody goes to jail, it ain't real.
Yeah.
And all this gnashing of teeth that we conservatives do, and our administration,
because the Republican Party is weak. The Republican Party is weak, and they have no gumption. Right. They have nothing about them. They're just like we at the deal last night. They're only there when you need them, or they're only there when you don't need them. They're never there when you need them. They're only there if the votes are already enough. They're only there if it's not controversial. They're not willing to take a stand, and this is what we talked about last night, which is why you got to start local. You got to have a county Republican chairman that would say, hey, this is what our party stands for. This is what we're going to do. And these are the candidates who have what's best for our citizens in mind. And then go out and talk about that.
Let me ask you this question.
Do it.
When was the last time you ever heard of a federal judge being impeached and removed from office?
I don't know that I ever have.
Well, I did, like Alcee Hastings in Florida like 40 years ago.
Yeah, I'm 40.
Was the last one I remember.
Yeah, so I have never heard of it. I didn't know that it ever happened.
That's a constitutional check and balance. When these judges start legislating, and when
which they are doing,
and they're setting policy, and they're blocking the administrative branch from doing their job, sometimes Congress, they should be brought to heel.
I was just reading today. Oh, it was in the National Review on the article that a guy wrote about the tariffs. Mm-hmm. And he quoted John Locke. And John Locke's thought was, no one can legislate into law but the legislature.
Right.
And I thought about the judges when I read that. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then you have the EPA, you have the IRS, all of these organizations, based on what Locke's principles are and our Constitution, operate. And I've said this for 3 years now. We are post-constitutional.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it just is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, the Constitution is a simple document.
Yeah.
You know, and it's very clear. It's written for regular people like you and me
to
be able to read and understand it.
Yeah.
Yet they have so perverted, our politicians, our government has so perverted the Constitution where, you know, you've got all these, you know, thank God Chevron was struck down.
Right.
You know, because all those regulations they were putting in, they were treated the same as if Congress enacted.
Right. And we're not talking about the oil company.
No.
God, what was the Chevron doctrine? It was where they could make.
It was an old case, and it's versus U.S. versus Chevron or something like that. Yeah. And the Supreme Court at the time said, since they're part of the government, we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Right. Unless there's something, really wrong, we're going to go with what the regulations say.
Right.
Nobody voted for those people.
No.
Nobody put them in power. A lot of these bureaucrats, they've stayed there through multiple generations. And all they do is you go look at the Federal Register would fill this building.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, they do what, 20, 30,000 pages a year?
Oh, I don't know.
That's insane. And they tell you how much, your toilet can flush, how bright your light bulb is.
Yeah.
How thick your windows have to be. Everything. No, that's not constitutional.
No, at all. Now, I'm okay with safety standards. I'm okay with some of that. But also, the market's going to give you a lot of that.
Absolutely.
If you're in a market system, I think I like these seatbelts.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I like having thick windows that are energy efficient. All that comes. The government, in my view, has never touched something and been like, oh, you know what? This is much better now.
Yeah.
I can't. People are like, oh, the military. No, we just throw so much money at it.
Yeah. Well,
and we are highly trained. We are efficient. We have the best military in the world. But even knowing from what goes on around here, there is waste and overrun.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying our military isn't the best, but when it comes to spending money, we throw a lot at it to make sure we get
accountability of the tax dollars being spent is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
And the military is a good place to hide a lot of that graft and corruption.
And I'm okay with having a few $1 billion for operations we don't know about. That doesn't even bother me.
Nope.
I hear
you. I mean, when you can go in there and disable a country's entire security apparatus in a couple hours, take their leader and bring them back and not lose a person, you're pretty badass.
Have you seen where it's being reported now that they were using these direct energy weapons?
Yeah, I've heard that a couple days ago.
Yeah.
One of the Venezuelan security people he goes, I've never felt such pain in my life. He goes, where people were bleeding from their face, we couldn't do anything. He goes, nobody can fight America. And he goes, I never want to be in a position where I'm against the American government again. I'm like, see, that dog learned his lesson.
Yeah. What do you say? It was 20 Americans killed 300 of them or something like that. I mean, just.
Well, they were incapacitated, and our military is top notch.
Oh, absolutely. And look, I want the lion to lay with the lamb.
Yeah.
I also want to be the lion.
Well, see, okay, let's get into a little theology then here, because the left has portrayed Jesus as only the lamb.
But he's both.
He's both. He is the lion also.
Yeah.
And that is what they get wrong about Jesus Christ. He is our Savior. Mm-hmm. He's not weak. He's so strong.
Yeah, he wasn't just some old strung out hippie that didn't take a stand.
Yeah, long hair, walked around in robes and sandals. No, he ain't a hippie.
Yeah. It's the dude. No, he wasn't the dude.
Yeah, I mean, when they were wanting to throw him off the cliff, and he goes, I don't think you will. And he walks right through them and away.
Yeah.
I mean,
you won't do that
that's
yet.
power. But Satan tried to use that against him too.
Well, people are like, oh, what's your favorite Jesus story or whatever. Or when you think of Jesus, who do you think? Well, I'll tell you who I think of. I think of the guy who walks into the temple. He sees the money changers. He gets so mad, but he never sins.
Right.
He gets so mad that he doesn't just start raising Cain. He sits down and he braids a whip together. Mm-hmm. So not only is he mad, he's sitting there stewing on it a little bit.
Right. He's thinking about what he's going to do.
I tell you what's about to happen right here. And then he starts whipping people. Waka, waka, waka. And then, I wish I had a little whip sound on here. I'd hit it. Yeah. And then he starts flipping over tables.
Yeah.
And then now things are running amok. Well, there are animals in these stalls too. And it says the animals run out. Right. What is it called when animals run out? If there's enough of them, it's called a stampede. Yeah. And so depending on in my mind, like on Talladega Nights, like my Jesus 8 pound 12-ounce baby Jesus. Mine is a guy with a whip in his hand, driving people out with a stampede going in front of him because he has just caused a scene.
Right.
He wasn't to be pushed around.
He was standing up for justice, and well, a lot of things,
Yeah, absolutely.
And but our God's not weak.
No, well, and on the same thing, while we're on that, who did he say to, do you not think I could call down a legion of angels right now?
Oh, yeah. I do remember that.
Yeah. I mean, I can do this.
Yes. Anytime, and, it's like, God, I forgot. Somebody in the Old Testament, he's like, how can I do this? I'm alone, or I'm standing there, and, God opened his eyes and showed all the angels, the legions of angels on the cliff tops, all around him. It's like, oh my God!
Yeah, who was that? But they basically was like, "Hey, go to sleep" or whatever. And he's like, "I'm going to be overtaken.
Yeah, I'm going to be killed."
And no, you're okay.
You're good.
But on the same note, our God is graceful.
Yeah,
our God is kind. But He is right. No, whatever that decision is.
Yeah,
He ain't wrong.
Well, and it gets down to it's like basically, peace through strength.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like. Jesus is, he's always he wants a peaceful solution. He wants people to freely come to him,
right.
not to be forcing them like Islam would have you do,
Right.
And,
when you think about Jesus, everybody's like, well, Jesus said to turn the other cheek. Well, what did that mean? To turn the other cheek wasn't just to give another cheek. No, you hit me with your backhand. Hit me on this side like a man, and let's see what happens.
Yeah,
like don't hit me with that backhand. Go ahead and give me some on this side. Let's even things up. Yeah. And that was the cultural relevance of that statement. But anyway, turn the other cheek. Get hit like a man.
Yeah. So let's elevate this up to modern times. Okay. And, what's going on in the world today, and we see Trump. He always starts out with a negotiation.
Yeah.
I always want a peace. Can you do this? Can you do that? And, everybody is, the dictators are like, no, we don't want to do anything with you, and all this stuff. And he goes, tries, and then he gets, and he says, oh, okay, well, if you don't do this, there'll be consequences. And they're like, yeah, right, whatever. Well, you know what? Trump, now he's been in the office for a year now. He's learned everything from the first term.
Right.
He brought over this term. People are now seeing the consequences of what goes on if you don't listen to him.
And the consequences of what he told them in the first term.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because with Germany, in the UN, he said, you're going to be buying your oil, and it's going to be a problem. And they laughed at him.
Right.
And he's like, okay.
Okay.
We'll see what happens. And here we are.
Yeah, here we are. And we see, right now, you've got Venezuela on the being able to turn the page, maybe.
Right.
You've got Cuba on the ropes.
Yeah.
You've got Iran teetering on the edge of the abyss.
And let's not act like we don't already have a fighting force in Cuba.
Well, exactly, Guantanamo. But anyway, all these things are happening now. Why are they happening now?
Right.
Under Biden, the world was just chugging along, happy as you please. Dictators were doing dictating things.
Globalists taking over.
Yeah. It's like, hey, America can't do anything about it. We're not the world's policeman. We may not be the world's cop, but we can be a moral authority.
Right.
We can back that up with strength. And where pressure needs to be applied, we can apply it, or else why
strategically.
Why do we even have a foreign policy in the first place?
That's exactly right. Well, and so let's bring this dial that in a little bit more.
Okay.
Starting February 1st, talking about warnings and consequences. Starting February 1st, Trump's saying we're not making any payments to sanctuary cities or states.
Amen.
That's what they did to Louisiana over the roads, over the drinking law back whenever.
That's right.
And as with control of the federal purse, he can do that.
But some stinking federal judge on the left side will come and say, "Oh, we got to have an injunction against that."
Yeah,
you can't not give them money just because they're not doing what the federal government wants them to do, even though it's federal dollars.
Right. Well, and what we're seeing is with the Somali thing, and we're going to see it with the California thing, is all this fraud was to prop up these governments that have wasted all this money.
Oh, yeah.
These liberal states cannot exist without the fraud to carry them.
That's right.
And that's where we are. All right, let's see what else we got. Okay. You're a border man. You've been on the border a lot. And I sent this to you so you can be ready to talk about it. Carlos Turcos on X.com says, bombshell, Mexico is sending troops to the U.S. border to shield cartels from possible U.S. airstrikes. And I don't know if this is in the article, but I read another article. It's like, well, Mexico has three choices here. Number one, admit that they are the cartel, that the government's run by the cartel, and protect them, which is, I mean, you're seeing weapons going to the border, which is what it seems like is going to happen. Number two, let the Americans take out the cartel, risk being assassinated in that time period, and also admit that they haven't had any control of the government or attempt to take over the cartel themselves and risk being assassinated. So two of the three, the leadership of the Mexican government's risking being assassinated. Number one, protecting the cartel seems to be the only move they have on the surface.
Yeah, well,
other than the fact of our military versus their military.
Well, the sad fact is the cartels are extremely well armed. They have technical vehicles, armor, all kinds of stuff, night vision.
Right.
They have lots of things. Number two is they have a lot of training.
Yeah.
A lot of the Mexican special forces and elite soldiers have went over to the cartel side.
More money,
and they don't get killed, and they do the killing.
Yeah.
And so they can be a force. However, now here comes the but.
Right, yeah.
They all saw what happened in Venezuela.
That's exactly right.
It's like, do these cartels think for a minute they could stop the U.S. military from coming in and taking anything they want? The answer is no.
Because it was some high-level guys, and I'm not a military historian, and I've never served, but it was some high-level guys that went in and conducted the operation in Venezuela. It wasn't just your normal special forces even. I mean, It was, from what I've read, it was top of the top.
Yeah, but you know what? We've got all kinds of assets in Mexico, trust me.
Okay.
From all different agencies. You pick an alphabet, you got them there. Now, the thing is, and here's where I see it, cartels know this.
Yeah.
They're terrified of Trump. They know that if Trump starts taking out their drug routes and their facilities and such, they can't stop it. So what they've done is they put pressure on the Mexican government to say, oh, no, we're going to make this an international thing, a nation versus nation type of event. And that's what they're hoping they will be shielded by. But Trump doesn't really follow the norms.
No.
And he's like, if Scheinbaum down there in Mexico wants to play that game, he's more than willing to play it. Now, he'll play out the string a little bit.
He'll push as far as you want to push.
But there'll come a point where he'll go, all of a sudden it'll happen all at once.
Yeah.
And people go, what's happening? And it's like, oh, he's been planning that for 10 months.
That's exactly right.
And that's how it's going to go down.
I think you're right. We're even seeing that with Greenland and Denmark, right? Which we already have documented permission from Greenland to expand anytime we want.
Yeah.
So all the rest of this is just theater.
Yeah. Well, in a way, I mean, I see the legitimacy of acquiring Greenland as a U.S. territory.
100%.
I also see the legitimacy of Greenland to remain self-determinant and associated with the country they want. And that's it. We're not going to send a military in there and take over Greenland because our military is already there. We can already do everything we want.
We're just letting the world know we're doing it.
Yeah, and basically what Trump has done is he's raised the stakes to let China and Russia know, hey, I've got my eyes squarely on there. You can't step foot in here. In fact, I heard a guy from Greenland say, we've kept Russia and China out because of the U.S., and we give the U.S. everything they need. That might change if they come and try to take us, but but we couldn't stop them if we wanted to.
Well, and let's look at what just happened as part of this Venezuela deal. Where was this oil tanker that was Russian flagged? Where did we finally catch up to it? North Atlantic.
Oh, yeah, right.
So, I mean, I'm not saying off the coast of Greenland, but you're going through that area because the submarines and other ships from Russia were coming down. If you're going through there, that you've got to pass it in some aspect. I mean, you're not going right by waving where they can see you. But
well, getting into a little physics here and planetary stuff is, the quickest way to Europe or the most efficient way to Europe or Asia from the U.S. is to go in the great circles.
Yep.
Which is you got to go way north, come across and come down. Actually, it's a lot, a straight line between 2 points ain't always the shortest on a round planet.
Right.
So with the rotation of the Earth, you go up to the ends of the Earth, the top or the bottom, it shortens the distance quite a bit.
Well, and I know that from flying to Europe a few times. That's what you do. You're watching your flight path, and especially if you live at DFW, you track up the East Coast, and then you go out over Maine, then you go over Greenland, then you come down over, come over Ireland, and then you just, last time I did it, you landed at Charles de Gaulle, but
it was like when I was working in Saudi Arabia. I would take the Pan Am Freedom Bird.
Okay, yeah.
And, we would leave here and we would go up to the Arctic Circle and come down through Europe and get to Saudi Arabia.
Right.
And when I was first young and dumb and didn't know nothing, I'm like, why don't we just go across the equator? That's about the same place, It's like, you realize,
long way.
You realize how wide the planet is.
Right.
It's like, okay.
All right, let's touch something a little closer to home, probably, I don't know, 3 hours away.
Okay.
Let's talk Broken Arrow.
Broken Arrow,
Oklahoma.
Okay, I read an article on that.
Okay, let's see. Breaking. This is from Gunther Eagleman on X.com. Breaking.
Oh, Islam.
Massive win last night in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. The city council just rejected the massive Islamic Center, which we've already talked about this a little bit, in a final vote 4-1.
How could they do that? That's not freedom of religion.
Yeah, no.
Oh my God. How dare a community not allow Islamic fascists come into their neighborhood?
But here's the thing: it's not about religion, and we've said this many times on here. It's basically a government. It's a governmental system.
It's a political system that has religion embedded into it.
Yeah,
and that's Islam.
Yeah,
when we talk about government is always force.
Right,
it's always force.
Yeah,
and the only way we deal with our government is through a vast series of checks and balances,
right,
which have been eroded a lot, over the last couple of centuries. But that's where Islam is. It's a form of government that has a patina of religion on it.
Right.
But you don't have a choice.
Right.
Either you convert or you die. If you're allowed to not die, you have to pay taxes.
Or they'll steal it from you, and that's allowed too.
And they'll lie to you and everything else, and they'll be your friend until they're not. And that's all allowed. And Islam is force.
It's like I said, it's not compatible.
No,
with the West, it's just not. And even back to what we started with, women. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't want my little girl growing up in a Islamic area. I mean, that they're not good to their women.
Oh, what about Ilhan Omar?
Right, exactly. And that's why she's here.
Yeah.
I mean, she married her brother to get him in here or whatever.
I mean, she's useful to the Somali Muslim community,
right? And then that's
because of the power she has. And this is one of those things where, they'll use you because that's what their culture says to do.
Right.
You can do anything is allowed as long as you're advancing your ball.
Because it's not based on morals.
That's right.
Or Christian morals, anyway.
Well, I don't even think. I mean, what other morals are there in Islam except Muhammad's morals? And my God, he was
a pedophile.
Yeah, he was bad.
All right, let's see. 2 more articles and we'll get out of here.
Okay.
Trump ends temporary protected status for thousands of Somalis.
Oh, we're back to that again.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. He should be ending the protective status of all of them. You know what? You've got a country, go make it better. If you're a legitimate asylum seeker,
about 2,500.
Okay, apply for it the right way, go through whatever hoops, and if you're a granted asylum, welcome aboard.
Yeah.
If you're not, get the hell out.
Oh, for sure. All right, let's talk about James O'Keefe. Have you seen this from O'Keefe Media?
No, I haven't.
He's the guy that catches everybody in the
I know who O'Keefe is.
Breaking U.S. Secret Service agent assigned to J.P. Vance leaks sensitive security information.
Yeah, I did hear that.
I've said this before, and these people just need to start listening to me. If it turns out that you've never been able to talk to women in any way, or men, or whatever you're into, and you've just always had a hard time with it, however in life, and you've just never felt like, I have a thing of saying, men want to be me and women want to be with me. And I say it somewhat jokingly, but I also believe it because I'm pretty confident. but
I'll refrain from
yeah. But you have to be able to think something of yourself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is that, if you don't believe in you, no one else will.
Self-confidence and all that stuff, yeah.
But if you've never had that, and you've always had trouble getting a date or talking to one, and all of a sudden the most beautiful woman you've ever seen starts hitting on you and wants you to take her to dinner, and you also happen to have security clearance and no top secret stuff, and then they start asking you all these questions about your job, and pump those brakes, baby.
That's amazing because that happens to me every day. On Facebook, I got these beautiful women on there saying they want to be my friend.
Yeah.
And they live in like Ohio, LA, San Francisco,
Yeah, it's funny how that
New
works.
York City, and they're all designers and
that's exactly
business owners, and they just want to get to know me.
It's the old honey trap.
Yeah.
And it works every time. It's the
Don't
oldest.
work every time.
Well, on these people it does.
The man's got to know his limitations.
Yeah. I know what I can and can't do. I may tell you I believe the one thing, but I know there's some limitations to it. But it's just amazing to see this keep happening. But thank God he caught this guy. This guy's protecting our vice president and was telling him where he stood, the time rotations. He gave away enough to be dangerous.
That's treason.
It is treason. I hadn't considered it like that.
Yes, it is treason.
Golly.
Because you're giving away classified information that could lead to the toppling of our government.
Right. Okay. This show is going to come out on Thursday.
Okay.
And so it's that's Bowie County Patriots Night. You going to be there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll be there as well. That's Big Jake's 6 o'clock in Nash.
In Nash, Big Jake's Barbecue in Nash. And
So-
we do that every week except for, Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah, Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving. We didn't do it this
Yeah.
past year. But anyway, we'll be there. We get there a little bit early, eat. If anybody wants to join us, feel free to do that.
We'll kick it around.
Yeah, that's exactly right. All right. Thanks for being here, Dale.
Hey, no problem, man.
All right, everybody. I hope God blesses each and every one of you today.
Amen.